Morality of Technology by Thaddeus Hughes. Originally published on MachinaeXdeo.com. The development of science and technology, the splendid testimony of the human capacity for understanding and perseverance, does not free humanity from the obligation to ask the ultimate religious questions. Rather, it spurs us on to face the most painful and decisive of struggles, those of the heart and of the moral conscience. That's Veritatis Splendor, John Paul II, 1993. There's no more defining aspect of modern life than technology's prevalence in it. Yet how little have we figured out how to use it to aid the spiritual life, or at least to not hinder it. In lieu of such guidance, technological progress moves at an unprecedented rate, displacing traditional ways of life unknowingly and unquestioningly. It encroaches on all fronts, often rending our eyes from holy things and towards the secular. We all know that the Church once played a key role in architecture and mediation of scientific discussion, but the Church no longer serves this role. She has not shirked this responsibility because of spirituality contradicting with scientific understanding, or that it cannot bear the changes that technologies demand. Rather, it's because of our own impatience, our own desire to worship progress, rather than take the time to plan how technology should be used in our lives. In all of Scripture, there's nothing that decries technology outright. Technology is capable of having its right place as an aid to man in his journey towards virtue. Indeed, things of a worldly nature can help us in that goal, for our faith is an incarnate one. Just as the Logos was made flesh and dwelt among us, rosaries, prayer ropes, icons, and all manner of liturgical implements open windows into the divine, inviting and entreating us to grow closer to God and in virtue. The story of technological development is rather the story of how we have chosen to systemize and structure the created world. It is a reflection of our spirit. We can develop technology according to worldly principles or according to divine ones. We can build the machines of man or the Machinai the machines of God. But just as you can only lead a horse to water, technology cannot supplant the effort required of man to become virtuous. We do not place our hope for salvation in material goods, but in our own spirits. And with our renewed spirits, the works we perform are changed and given new life. Yet many people consider technology to be amoral. Clearly, how we utilize it is laden with a moral responsibility, but what is developed is also morally charged. All tools have a telos, a unique purpose or end they are created for. A hammer is good for hitting, a spoon for stirring, a saw for cutting. Within these there are many varieties of each tool, different sized wrenches, wood saws versus metal saws, rigging axes and ball-peen hammers, teaspoons versus tablespoons, and so forth. And so thusly the furnisher of a workshop dictates what a workshop can do. Those who create and furnish tools not only open possibilities for what can be made next, they invite them in, and should be careful. They also usher old forms out, as there is only so much room in the world for them to be stored, or at least to be used. And if the lives and work of craftsmen is shaped by the tool makers that came before them, how much more are the lives of those who receive from these later craftsmen? C.S. Lewis came to the conclusion much more elegantly and generally. Quote, "What we call man's power over nature turns out to be a power exercised by some men over other men with nature as its instrument." End quote. Every time we choose to develop one tool rather than another, we alter the lives of those who come after us. Every technology we build nudges the world towards virtue or towards sin.